Hello friends, JC from Oh God Why Nostalgia Reviews here. So for today's video, I thought I'd have a little fun and read some funny reviews of books and movies I've recapped in the early days of the blog. If you're familiar with the How Did This Get Made podcast, this is kind of similar to the Second Opinion segment, only possibly a bit more unhinged. Now, some of the books I've recapped on the blog are somewhat obscure or lesser known, so they don't have a lot of reviews on Amazon or Goodreads. So, first up, I've got The Murder Game by Janice Harrell, which was the first book I ever recapped. I just wanted to read this review I found on Goodreads because there's a lot wrong with it. From the Galleon Public Library Teens Review by HF, Dusty and her friends were invited to the murder game. Okay, first off, that's not a review. That's more like a tagline. And, Dusty is the boy who invites his friends to the murder game. So every single thing about this review is wrong. That just kind of made me laugh there. Okay, next up we have some reviews for The Mangler, which was the second recap I ever did. Still one of my favorites. Recap, not movie. The movie is terrible. This is from Letterboxd, which is a really cool movie review site. You can log your movies, comment on other people's reviews. It's really neat. This is from Ben Tolpin. I really liked the parts where the Mangler was mangling people. The parts where it mangled sheets were just okay. 3 stars. I agree. Next, Half Beast gives it 2 stars, which is the same rating I gave it because it's not completely unwatchable. There are some very ridiculous things in it, but it's not necessarily fun to watch. Okay, Half Beast says, there's a scene where we see Robert Englund's office, and it's all creepy, with weird lighting and long shadows shot in a low angle. Oh, so he's the villain. How subtle. Then we cut to another scene at the lead's friend's house, and it's a similar creepy-looking room with weird lighting and long shadows, shot in a low angle. So the interior decorator is the villain? Now I'm confused. This movie's wacky, like cartoon wacky. England's performance especially reminded me of Yosemite Sam. I don't know about that, but it is, unhinged. Alex Alexander gives it 1 star and says, bunch of steampunk fucks popping tums. Accurate. Now we move over to Amazon, where if Letterboxd gives you some insightful, coherent, witty, and amusing reviews, Amazon gives you kind of the opposite. They're still entertaining, but coherent, maybe not so much. So, 4 stars, Anna Michelle Meredith calls her review, for some reason, because The Mangler isn't a sequel. She calls it The Sequels of Stephen King. Guy M. Word 300, 20 and 15 Guy, disposable copy. The Sequels of Stephen King, by M.M. Stephen King has written many sequels. Big Wheels, A Tale of the Laundry Game, Milkman No. 2, The Way Station, The Slow Mutants, The Gunslinger and the Dark Man, The Dark Tower 2, The Drawing of the Three, The Dark Tower 3, The Wastelands, and Wizard and Glass, to name a few. There are also The Regulators and Desperation, neither of which are sequels to anything, not even each other, but okay. There is also what I like to call the Castle Rock stories. Yeah, you and everyone else, hun. That's literally just what they're called. Nona, Cujo, the Sundog, the Body, the Dark Half, Sleepwalkers, Needful Things, and It Grows on You. The Breathing Method is a sequel to The Man Who Would Not Shake Hands. Stephen King once wrote a sequel to the Cthulhu mythos, One for the Road is a sequel to Salem's Lot. Nevertheless, Stephen King didn't write all of his own sequels. In '92, they wrote Pet Sematary 2. Then they made Children of the Corn 2, The Final Sacrifice. Then there came Children of the Corn 3, Urban Harvest. Then there came Sometimes They Come Back Again. Then there was Children of the Corn 4, The Gathering. Then there is The Rage, Carrie 2. Finally, there is Children of the Corn 5, Field of Terror, Children of the Corn 666, and Children of the Corn 2009, the remake Maybe Don't You Think. Yes, of course there is. And then it's signed 30, for some reason. Well, Anna Michelle Meredith, you skipped several sequels there. And I have no idea what this has to do with the Mangler. But 4 stars. Oh, Amazon, we love you. This next one by Robert the Psycho Man requires a dramatic reading, I think. I'll attempt to hit the correct expression of punctuation here. But Robert gives this 4 stars. The Mangler needs more story. Great idea? I have seen this movie, though the story looks really sloppy in terms of bad acting. What is likable is actor. Robert Englund. Ho plays Gartley, a vicious boss of a factory machine. Ho, it eats people alive. His daughter looks real good. The actress playing his daughter. Ho might become a victim of the machine. Others are scared of this crazy machine as it prones on its victims. Mangling them to, the number 2, mangling them to death unexpectedly. This movie is so close in being. Tobe Hooper's Poltergeist and Life Force. One of my favorite movies of the 80s. At that time, Tobe Hooper's direction is The Demon Came From. How did it get powers on its owner? But Tobe Hooper is a true master of terror, and so is Stephen King. No is their horror anthology really well. The detective, Jeff Levin, that does require a question mark because that is Ted Levine, folks. The detective, Jeff Levin? No. Does a really good job in being a strongman he is throughout the film, such as his partner Ho helps him about the Mangler. This is not a bad freak show for King fans, or for Robert Englund nuts like me. So I strongly suggest those fans of Life Force and Poltergeist. Those Ho are none exploitation fans. Enjoy. Okay. Cool. Thank you, Robert the Psycho Man. I have no idea what this was. If you go to his profile, he has a couple other reviews, and they are exactly the same as this. Not exactly the same in content, but the way he punctuates, all the bizarre double periods and hyphens, semicolons he clearly doesn't know the meaning of, question marks and exclamation marks in weird places, they all look exactly like this. He's delightful. This one really cracked me up. It's delightful. I love it. Jennifer D. Lovato did not love it. Extremely disappointed. I bought this as a gift for my husband. It took a month to get here. This DVD didn't play in the DVD player. It would have been nice if the description stated not NTSC. And if we want a refund, we will have to pay to ship it back to Germany. If you live in the US, don't waste your money. This doesn't even deserve 1 star. Extremely disappointed. 1 star. That's not a review of the movie. There are so many reviews on Amazon that are not reviews of the product. They're reviews of the transaction experience. I love it. It cracks me up. Okay, friends, next up we have Pet Sematary 2, which is maybe my all-time favorite bad movie. I've watched it an embarrassing number of times. So we're back on Letterboxd, and this is a review by Rob Saucedo. He gives it 3.5 stars. Watching Pet Sematary and Pet Sematary 2 back to back is a great study of the intrinsic difference between a doctor, with their God complex and refusal to accept death, and a veterinarian, whose default response to animals acting strangely is to immediately put them down. Okay, Rob, I think you're going a little too far there. Then we have review by Brundlefly. He gives it 3 stars. Out-of-place melodramatic ballads that turn moments of sadness into moments of guffaw-inducing hilarity. Ridiculous character motivations leading to even more ridiculous situations. An unhinged Clancy Brown. That's the best kind. The stupidest looking electrocution scene maybe ever. Corny Halloween campfire stories. Fever dreams. Sex with wolf-human hybrids. A closing that features an in memory of montage, complete with motion portraits of the dead, kind of like how the Oscars do. Excessive screaming, shouting, and laughing. And just a terribly unapologetic mean streak. Animals and kids are harmed. A lot. Pet Sematary 2 is a complete and total mess. I like it more than the original. I agree, Brundlefly. Be my new best friend. This one is a little long, but it's worth it. This one is by Nathaxon, or maybe Nathan with a silent X? I don't know, bud. I'm sorry. I don't know how to say your name here. They give it 2.5 stars. The world's cutest opossum is shivering on a stump in a made-up burial ground beyond which the dead shall rise. Who will help this opossum? Poor chilly opossum. Edward Furlong is consumed with grouchiness and surliness. He will not help the opossum. I don't know why I'm reading this like a Dr. Seuss book, but I am. He will not help the opossum, but his kitten may have met a horrid end.
There's a little accident.
This is maybe the mostest of the grunge-era teen horror films. Everything is run down and dirty and disused. If something can be rusty, it is rusty. Or scored or marked with surly teen graffiti. No one looks happy. If they start to look happy, someone shoots them an ugly glare, and they stop. The realness just won't stop. It can't stop. It will not stop. Pet Sematary 2 starts with an awesome Hammer Gothic fake-out, then brings the realness and later the angsty teenage boys, but also Anthony Edwards as Angst Vet and Clancy Brown as Angst Sheriff. None of them are as deeply pissed as Edward Furlong, who can see his future from 1992, and it is making his day bad. Question.
How was school today?
Answer.
It sucked.
What kind of sheriff has to lock up dangerous rabbits in an electrified hutch? Sheriff Clancy Brown, that's who. The kind of unpleasant sheriff who shoots his kid's dog for investigating the electrified rabbit hutch. The kind of kid's dog that, in the context of this movie, looks only mildly perturbed at dying from a gunshot wound, wondering when it can leave the set of Pet Sematary 2. The second half of Pet Sematary 2 picks up with more intentional, if tasteless and possibly ill-advised, Grand Guignol black humor. There is a tone of sustained, grouchy, unpleasant idiocy that works in ways not frequently seen in horror movies. No matter how jaded or wide-ranging a horror fan you are, there are probably at least 2 or 3 things in Pet Sematary 2 that will probably seem surprising and unexpected, if not always welcome or necessary. It also answers the question of what are people like when you bring them back from the dead? The answer is, they are complete jerks to everyone around them, which begs the question as to why it became a thing to do in the first place, let alone a local tradition. You know how they say history repeats itself? The first time is tragedy, the second time is farce? Well, it might not be true for all horror sequels, but it is true for Pet Sematary 2, wherein the original got buried up the hill and came back all wrong. I don't disagree, but I unapologetically love Pet Sematary 2.
No brain, no pain. Think about it.
And now, friends, now we move over to Amazon, where not a single review, at least not one I've clipped, is about the movie. So Kevin Kuhn says, great movie. Came fast. Good price. 5 stars. Kevin, bud, this isn't the sort of movie you're supposed to come while watching. I worry about you. I'm worried. I worry about you. A lot. Perry C. Giddings says, learning how to operate my DVD remote. I just saw this movie on TV. 5 stars. Cool. Catherine Wakefield says, me and my grandson enjoyed the movie. I rented the Movid. 5 stars. Samuel Martinez disagrees. 1 star. Terrible. Disc had scarches. Disc had scarches. Hate that. And that brings us to a couple more books. These are by Jo Gibson, which is the pen name of cozy mystery author Joanne Fluke. She wrote some baffling, absolutely baffling YA thrillers in the 90s. 3 of them were holiday thrillers. She did one for Christmas, one for Valentine's Day, and one for Halloween, but we're not talking about that one because that one doesn't have a lot of reviews. None of them have a lot of reviews, but there are a couple. So Sleigh Bells, which is the Christmas one, is not good, but it's kind of a personal favorite because it's so ridiculous. I have this theory that Jo Gibson is an alien who just does not understand the human things. Her character Zoro is so flabbergasted by everyday things and phrases. They crawled out from the cave where they've been held captive since they were babies. They know nothing about the world. We have a 3-star review on Goodreads from someone called Sharon. Read it when son had to do school report. I loved it. 3 stars. I don't love things I give 3 stars to. Look, I gave 3 stars to it. It's not good, but I like how ridiculous it is. 3 stars. I loved it. Look at the date here. It's December 31st, 2011. Her son had to do a school report. Now we swap over to Amazon. Book arrived in great shape. It arrived before they predicted it to arrive. This was for my son to do a school project. He was able to read the book and complete his assignment. Thank you for great service. 5 stars. January 14th, 2012. This is the same person. Unless there are multiple people whose sons had to do school projects about Sleigh Bells by Jo Gibson. 2 weeks apart. We've got December 31st to January 14th. Somewhere in those 2 weeks, it gained 2 stars in Sharon, aka Avid Reader's eyes. I guess the son got a good grade on the project. Okay. Back over to Goodreads. Evans Light disagrees. In no 3 stars, no 5 stars. 1 star. No. Just no. Maybe yes if you're 9 years old. Wait. I take that back. Just no. If you scroll down to this guy's comments, apparently he picked it up not realizing it was YA, which I'm not sure how you don't realize it's YA from looking at the cover. That is such a YA cover. That is such a mid-90s, early to mid-90s YA cover. Like, no adult makes their book look like that. Just no. Okay, Evans. Then we go to Valentine's Day, and Jo Gibson's My Bloody Valentine. No relation to the slasher flick. And this review is by Pastel Paperback. We are mutual follows on a couple different platforms. Goodreads is one of them. She gives it 2 stars, as did I. This took me forever to read. A bunch of kids plan a Valentine's dance with some weird pay-to-vote for a queen fundraiser because the library needs new books. Okay. Then girls start dying. And after each one dies, the next girl with the most votes is like, OMG, I know my friend just died, but I'm really excited to be the Valentine Queen, and starts acting ridiculous. And then they die, and so on. I just didn't buy it. Like, 5 girls die, and the administration is all, but the library needs new books, we're not canceling. The killer was fairly predictable, too. Sleigh Bells was better. Hard agree. Sleigh Bells, they're both equally ridiculous, but Sleigh Bells is a lot more fun. Okay, friends, I think that covers it for our first installment of Reading Amazon and Goodreads and Letterboxd reviews. I've included links to my own recaps of these things in the description down below, along with a link to my Patreon. That's patreon.com/OGWNostalgia, where you can subscribe for some more fun Patreon exclusive videos and some other perks. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff that lets YouTube know you like me. Have a great day, and may your discs never be scorched. Hate those scorched discs. They're the worst.